Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, before we start, I'm losing my voice a little bit, so forgive me if my voice sounds a little raspy. I don't think it's the COVID. I don't have any other symptoms. Everything else seems to be fine. I just don't have much of a voice. Right now I think what's going on is I think maybe the mask wearing at work is catching up with me. I think I'm inhaling a lot of warm, moist air during the day. And since this was my long week at work, I think it's kind of caught up with me a little bit. Now, it was actually much worse last night when I got home from work than it was this morning, because I haven't been wearing a mask now today. So don't worry about it. I think I'm going to be fine. It'll probably go away in a day or so. But anyway, we're going to continue on working on the planter. Now, I've got the lumber behind me, coated with 2 layers of the wood sealant, and as you recall in the last video, I actually hadn't gotten all of the lumber done because there were these pieces, the shorter pieces, that I hadn't managed to get 2 coats on. I only got 1 coat on. So what I did is I got up this morning and did a live stream. But before the live stream, I actually came out here and put a couple coats on the lumber to give it a chance to dry. So I've got 2 coats on the short pieces now, and we're going to go out in the backyard and we're going to demo the old planter, get it out of the way so we can start installing the new one. Now fortunately this thing isn't really full, and so it'll be actually pretty easy to do it. And in fact, a lot of the dirt that's like on this end was some of the dirt that was left over when they irrigated and trenched under my house to fix the plumbing issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that out, probably put it in a wheelbarrow and just move it to the side right now. And then we're going to take apart this planter and start planning for the next one. Now it looks like a lot of this thing is just screwed together, so we're just going to remove the screws and take it apart in little pieces rather than trying to pull it out as a single unit. Now on closer examination, it doesn't appear that they use traditional Phillips head screws on this. They got these funky heads that have a square head, but fortunately I got a bit like that will fit on my electric screwdriver, so just a minor inconvenience, but we can deal with it. So now that I'm kind of looking at the lumber after I got everything torn out, I've definitely made the right decision. This stuff is rotted out and it didn't have many more years in it anyway. It looks like there's maybe even termites in this, so yeah, it was a good decision. What's going to be the advantage now is, since we're not going to have these 4x4s being the corner posts, which are also subject to being rotted out, it's going to be these stone pieces. In the future, if the lumber that I use starts to rot out, I can just replace it, and we'll leave the corner pieces where they are. We can just slide in new pieces of 2x6. So hopefully, because I've wood treated the lumber, that this is going to work better, and hopefully it'll last for a while. I don't know how long that stuff was in there. Who knows? Maybe this thing's been used for 10 years, and so if that's the case, then this stuff held up pretty well. But there's a lot of water, a lot of moisture around here, so it doesn't surprise me a lot that this lumber was in really bad shape. All right, so the next thing I got to do now is just level this out here. I'm going to, I think, put the dirt in the wheelbarrow and just kind of move it out of the way for now. We may actually end up putting that dirt back in the planters at some point. But I'm also going to have to kind of level out the whole area because I don't know if you can tell from the video here, but the yard kind of slopes this way a little bit. So it's taller here than it is there. So I'm going to want to kind of set the level based on the back of the shed and then make sure it's level all the way out to the full 8 feet. So that's going to involve a little digging and a little bit of leveling. But, if you're going to do it right, you might as well do it right, right? All right, so I got all the dirt out of the area, got the area mostly leveled. Now I'm not going to actually flatten out the whole area. I just got to flatten out the area where the lumber is going to go. So I've actually kind of trenched a little bit here. I'm using kind of just a piece of rope to make a straight line here so that I can place the bricks in the right location. And then I'm going to use a bubble level to kind of get the lumber at the same level. Then I'm going to dig this piece into the ground a little bit and get it to a point where it matches the height of the lumber. Alright, so I got the first wall on the first side here. You can see now what I'm talking about the slope of the yard here. How the the 2x6 is on the surface of the ground here and almost completely submerged on this end. That's how much of a slope we're dealing with. Now, that's not going to hurt the planter at all. The planter will just be level compared to the rest of the yard. So now what I got to do is I got to trench all this way, go back this way, and connect the whole thing together, and then we can start filling in. What I'm going to do right now, though, is, like I said, I had to trench a little bit on either side of the wood, so I'm going to kind of shovel some of the dirt back in there so that we can kind of make sure that this stays at this level and doesn't change over time. And I also think I'm going to drive in some of the rebar, maybe not all the way. I kind of drove it in a little bit just to kind of hold this block in place. I'll probably do the same thing with the other side here. Drive it in about a foot, and then once we get it all in and into place, then we'll pound it down and get it down to the level where it's beneath the bricks. Now, one of the problems I'm running into a little bit here, and I learned about this from the geologist who came out and looked at the trench after they had tunneled under the house. He was telling me a little bit about the geology of this area. And just beneath the surface, maybe 6 or 8 inches down, there's this layer of stone. I mean, we've seen this. This stuff goes all the way to the river. Remember when I was walking last time along the trail at Cameron Park, and we were looking up those cliffs? This is that same level of rock, and we're miles away from that. So obviously this layer of whatever it is basically extends under the entirety of Waco. So I'm running into this, and I'm having to cut through a lot of this. Fortunately, I got this big heavy digger bar that makes pretty quick work of this. This stuff is actually pretty soft, but you know, it's not something you can dig through with a shovel. You need something heavy to poke through it. So yeah, we're gonna definitely be cutting into the ground on this and to make these holes, but that's okay. Like I said, we want to do it right, and that's how you do it, unfortunately. Alright, so we're making good progress here, but we're kind of burning daylight at this point. So I think I'm going to kind of wrap this up today, but we'll pick this up again tomorrow. And I'm going to trench along here to that piece and get that nice and level. And once I get that in there, then we can drive those rebar spikes all the way in, put the second level on there, and that's going to be quick. That'll just go together really quickly. And then I just got to duplicate the whole thing and do the same thing again over here. Like I said, I'm going to use these stone pavers here to actually create the pathway that goes between the two. So I'm going to actually have to do some excavating along here also, because I'm going to want to make that nice and level. Probably make it so you step down a little bit into it. And what I'm going to have to do is figure out some way to make that level. And I think the way they usually do it with paving stones is they'll dig down lower than it needs to be, then we'll put some like sand in there, and we'll level out the sand, and then we'll set the pavers on top of that, and that'll allow me to get it really nice and smooth, and we'll have a walkway going down the middle of it, and then we'll just create a second one here, and we're done. So I don't know if we'll get done with that tomorrow, but we're going to try. So anyway, I think that is all that I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.